Hey, just let me know you could hear me okay and everything.
Great. Very clear.
And sorry, you cut out in the beginning, but say that again.
Yes, you are coming through clear.
Okay, great. Just a heads up, when you start to talk, it cut out a little bit, so maybe just like give it a second and then go. All right, you ready to get started here?
For having me. I appreciate you. I kind of reached out to you, and you were very inviting about getting a time together. So I definitely appreciate you holding the space.
Awesome. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna kick it off. What's up, everyone? It is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This is the Talking About Life podcast. I am your host, Kowski. Today, our guest is Three Heads Creating. Going to just check their Twitter bio here. Creative, creator, creating at Hardly Hollywood is coming. Also, someone from the V Friends community, which is the Gary V NFT project. If you don't know about that, highly recommend you Google it and maybe get involved. But that's going to be up to you. Without going on a tangent here, let's hear what's going on with Three Heads Creating and find out what are they passionate about. Three Heads, how are you doing tonight?
Thanks, Kowski. Thanks for the intro. Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to kind of talk to your space's crowd, your space's audience, just about talking about life. It's a wonderful topic to kind of go down to. There's so many aspects that you can really go into. Something I'm passionate really about is mental, like our own personal mental power, and really accessing the ability to become a victor and rather than become a victim. I think that it's important to see ourselves as powerful beings. You know that we are in a simplest form, limitless energy that is bound by our physical body, and I think it's an amazing topic to go down the rabbit hole. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, but I do have opinions, and I do have I feel like an insight and a message that could resonate with some people, and even if it resonates with one, then I'd be happy to take that opportunity to do so. Um, I also, you mentioned Hardly Hollywood. That is an NFT film three project that I've been creating for a little over a year now, and I've really just been nailing down the specifics and how I want things to operate because it's a very intricate project based on a community generated movie. So that would be a movie that is kind of created and put together and written by the community at large with the help of myself and a screenwriter. So it's something that I look forward to taking a deep dive into, and hopefully, maybe one or two people would like to hear more.
Awesome. I think definitely I want to hear more. Now, one question I have to kick it off. Your Three Heads Creating. Do you have a government name or parental given name that I should also call you by? Are you doxed undoxed? Are you just Three Heads Creating? And anything is fine, but just so we know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to docs. My name is Greg Boreski. I'm from Middletown, Connecticut, and I've gone by Three Heads Creatings ever since I created a Twitter account that is kind of based off of the NFT world. Once I got into the NFT world, I'd say beginning of 2021, maybe even late 2020, that I started kind of learning a little bit about it and kind of going down that rabbit hole. But Three Heads is fine, Greg is fine, G is fine, whatever you want to call me. I answered to George from one of my teachers all throughout high school, so I got no problem answering to many names.
Now, follow up question: who are the three heads? Is it a reference to your NFT? There's no, three physical heads. It's three perspectives, and your one head kind of thing. What are the three heads about?
Yeah, so the heads are about three perspectives. It's essentially creating from my mind, your mind, and then kind of the universal mind, or some would say God, or so creating from those perspectives can help. And it was really quite coincidental that Gary created this ponder it from all angles, because it really does um, kind of lend credence to what I was going with the three heads creating. It is about pondering it from all angles. It is about thinking it from different perspectives in order to appeal to more and more people.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the ones that I'm pretty sure I don't own one, or I never kind of committed on buying one yet. But I like the three heads creating one. I like pondering it from, sorry, three heads creating. That's funny. I renamed the NFT. I like the ponder it from all angles NFT. I like the perspective of pondering it from all angles. Uh, a previous guest kind of mentioned the perspective of looking at everything. All religions or all your friends or all the situations you've been in. Right. Any area of life, you could kind of put that area in a box or put the data across. I don't know, like a spreadsheet or whatever, just mentally, and say, throughout all of this category, what is the absolute best or what are the most valuable traits that I've learned from these experiences? And then really focus on and highlight those. So you can't get there without pondering from different angles and, three or even more, right? Angles or heads creating. So I think that's awesome. I love the idea of the three heads creating.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the overall goal, is just to see things from multiple perspectives. I say I kind of go into like a montage of quotes when I think about it a lot, and it's really just about like, just because I like something doesn't mean somebody else is going to like something, and vice versa. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to like it as well. So it's one of those things that I know, I have a strong personality when it comes to my opinion, but I do have to humble myself from time to time and say, listen, just because I feel a certain way does not mean that everybody or even anybody feels that same way. So it's kind of just something that is a great reminder to myself while creating, while speaking my mind, to just reassure myself that I'm not the end all be all. I'm not the, I'm humble, and I need to act accordingly in that way.
No, Greg, going off that point here of not expecting other people, right, to think the way you think or to even agree with you or to even be able to understand it, maybe, right, if you explain it, but hopefully they would. What and this could be a long answer, short answer, however you want to answer this. What is it that brought you to this place or to this perspective? Or was it even anything? Like, was it your parents kind of instilled this in you? They had this kind of perspective. Like, I love people's passions. I love to hear what everyone is passionate about. If you don't hear it in my voice, by the way, people, listen. I lost my voice a little bit. That's neither here nor there. But hopefully it doesn't come across any less how excited that I am about your passions. And you're incredibly passionate, just I could hear in your voice, in your tone. And you opened up, passionate about the way you look at life and wanting to be the victor, right? Not the victim. What what got you to this point? Again, if anything.
I would say the start of it was probably close to 10 years ago, actually. I'm 37 right now. So back when I was 27, I had broken up with a girlfriend at the time, and we had a trip planned to California, just like just a vacation type thing. 2 months prior to before we left, we split,
You said you were
and I
27.
correct. Yeah, I kind of went down a dark path in my head. I was overweight at the time. I was not motivated. I was not really a happy person, and it showed in the way I was living my life. So once this happened, I was down in the dumps, and a buddy of mine was just like, "Dude, just go to California by yourself. Just get out there." I live in Connecticut, by the way, so it's a cross country, obviously, and I really thought about it, and I decided to actually get out there myself. And the first night, I didn't even get a hotel. I just slept in my car. I was that kind of get that depressed, really, of just with the way my life was going and where what I was doing in life. And on the
You
second
drove
day,
out there.
I did fly out there.
Sorry, say it again.
Car. I flew out there.
And then rented a car.
I rented a car, and the second day I was driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, and I remember it so vividly that I looked over to the right and saw a bunch of people playing volleyball on the beach, and questions came to my mind, like, why are they so happy? What makes them better than me? Why am I not living a great life? And I don't know the type of life they were living, but at that moment they looked like they were living, their best life, loving life with friends, having fun, playing volleyball, and I just wasn't doing that. I wasn't taking
Right.
advantage of those opportunities in my life.
Even if they weren't overall happy, your perspective was, why don't I have more moments of passion and happiness that look like this in my life?
Exactly. Feeling that vibe. I was not happy. I was not excited about life. I was not going after opportunities that came across. And I really just like started to ask those questions out loud, and it kind of broke down a little bit. I'm not afraid to admit I broke down in tears, and it's so crazy because once that light turned green, it was essentially like all the answers were coming to me. As soon as I saw that green light change, it was like for lack of a better term, it was a higher power that was just throwing answers at me, and the answer was me. The answer was I was not going after those opportunities. I was not putting myself in a position to take advantage of those opportunities. I was not excited to live life because I personally wasn't using my energy to be excited about life. And it really rushed through me like a really great energy, and it just felt so powerful at that moment that I could really do anything. And the rest of the drive, the rest of the um I just like I started seeing things from a different perspective. I was starting to go out
Greg,
on little runs.
Greg, I want you to keep your kind of energy here, but one thing I just want to point out, I always want to provide value to the listeners, and sometimes I think I'm pondering it from all angles, or I have sometimes a unique perspective. One idea here that I would like to highlight is this moment for Greg where all of these answers came flooding forth is the exact moment where, for the first time, either ever or in a long time, he's asking himself significant and deep questions. And this is something I've heard across the spectrum from successful people and people in general. So whether it's like, someone who's like famous and majorly successful, or whether it's a small moment of success in someone's life where, maybe their whole life isn't phenomenal, but it works in this vein, right? And I say that, I make that comparison to show it works everywhere for anyone. And Greg had said he had felt to some level that he had asked this question of, why am I not happier? What could I do to be happier? And these answers flooded forth, in his head, obviously. And there was a feeling of, euphoria or epiphany of like, could this be a higher power? Could this be God? I believe absolutely yes. I'm an open minded person. I believe there is some sort of higher power, some sort of higher intelligence. I don't know what it is. I'm always happy to say I don't know. Um, so I think, yeah, absolutely. I think when you ask a question, there is an aspect of maybe there is a higher power or God or whatever you believe in, the universe, some sort of energy. Maybe there is something listening and can kind of guide or push answers to you. And I think if you believe in that, you should lean heavily into that and rely on it, especially to the extent that you're having a positive experience with it and getting results. One thing I want to say to the people who don't believe in it. So, Greg, I think you'll appreciate this, right? From the ponder it from all angles perspective, I'm always kind of running multiple perspectives on a situation or on reality. What would I think if I was this person? What would I think if I was that person? And especially when you have an audience and you're catering to different people, yes, there's something similar that brings everybody here, but there's not everybody's the same. Uh, what I found is if you don't believe in that, there's the psychological aspect to it. So don't not get power from that. Don't hear someone talk about a positive experience they had that involved religion or God and go, okay, so that won't work for me. I think when you hear those stories, like Greg said, and you think, well, how do I make that work for me? Trust that there's this part of you called the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind or however you want to see it. There's a larger part of you within yourself, within your own mind, where it takes a conscious alignment. So it takes the part of you that's the thinking and acting voice to ask the questions. So Greg actually, he had to get to that point where he asked the questions. But there's a subconscious or higher part of yourself or higher part of your own mind, whether you believe in the supernatural, whatever it is or not, believe in that and leverage that. That when you find the right question, ask yourself that question and then give yourself a space and then give yourself a silence for those answers to come through where from wherever they are coming through from. Greg, go ahead.
Just because we talked about that, just because I believe in one thing doesn't mean, and I'm not sure, I'm this similar to where you were at. I don't know if it's a God or just some higher power energy or whatever it is. Me personally, I believe there's something. And like you said, not everybody will, but people who don't feel that way about a higher power can absolutely access themselves. You know, it could truly be just an interior voice from within that is creating that power. And I would definitely recommend listening to it if you're hearing that voice for change, or for to go after something, or there's somewhat of a gut instinct that can provide a lot of value to you. And if you listen to it, if you're open minded, then it's something that could definitely help in the long term and in the short term. So I'd highly recommend kind of taking that deep dive into yourself and asking those questions to yourself, and really be honest with yourself, because it's easy to ask questions and then kind of brush it under the rug, or come up with a surface level answer to ourselves to make ourselves feel good. But when we're brutally honest with ourselves, and that's what I needed to be at that point, because I was so low, I needed to be brutally honest with myself. And for me at that moment, it was no one else's fault but myself. And
Right. And
I
it's
took that to heart.
and it's the difference between having the perspective or saying out loud of the complainer and being like, why is this happening to me? And those same exact words with a different tone and a different intent, and actually asking yourself, not saying it out loud, not like rhetorically asking it, but actually asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And then giving your own mind a space and a silence for thoughts to come up, and then like listening and responding to that. But you know, you were in the middle of your story. I know, I took like a couple minutes there because I think it's important. Let's get back into the story. You're you're in California. You've rented a car. Uh, you're just out there. You haven't booked a hotel. The first night you're out there, you're sleeping in your car, which is kind of wild. But like, I respect the whole thing. Like, don't take that the wrong way. I'm just saying, what a level of intensity, of passion, and emotion to get you to the point where you would sleep in your, or at least for me, like maybe to you it's no big deal anyway. Uh, I would be a little bit nervous sleeping in my car, and other fact, cold, whatever it is. So this is, or maybe California's warm, but whatever. This is the point we're at. Uh, go on with your story.
I did sleep in my car because at that point I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to even talk to the front desk person to check in. I was that low on myself. You know what I mean? I was really at a very low place, and even with the beauty of that is like that coast of California, it was beautiful, but I wasn't feeling it because I wasn't in that mindset of appreciating what was around me until after that drive down the Pacific Coast Highway. I still remember there was a silver Jeep in front of me, and when that, like I said, when that light turned green, it just like things just flooded to me, and I started making small changes to my life. I had a very poor diet. I was eating fast food multiple times a week. And it was just something that I personally needed to stop. And I know I needed to stop. I was overweight. I was not working out. So those are certain things that I needed to do. I needed to start paying attention to my physical health, because I feel that a lot of evidence points to our physical health being linked to our mental health. So I definitely needed to make changes in that regards. I needed to make changes mentally when it came to I got into meditation, something that is I believe has changed my life for the better. Even just taking 5 or 10 minutes to be with my thoughts and observe them, and not really judge them, but just observe and see where my head's at the moment,
How'd you get into that?
I came across a YouTube channel. His name is Michael Seeley, and I came across a YouTube channel, Michael Seeley. He had some good 30-minute, 1 hour meditations that I would just listen to for 5 or 10 minutes and hear what he had to say. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the calmness of it. I enjoyed the ability to see my thoughts and hear my thoughts a lot clearer, because when you're in when you're in a space that is very loud or there's a lot going on, you don't always I feel like you don't even always interpret your thoughts very clearly because it's always on to the next thought, and then you've got another one, then you're moving to the next one. So that was something that I kind of just fell into, and then just started doing a little more research as I could as I went, finding different meditations or different practitioners that kind of
Yeah, I was gonna
resonated
ask
better with me.
what do you actually do, or what you're talking about different ones. What are your either top ones or top one or top three?
I enjoy doing our guided meditations. It's just somebody who is kind of leading you through the meditation, telling you to, inhale through the nose and admire the air actually going down your esophagus and filling your lungs. And it's kind of just a step by step process of observing what the body is doing, doing anything. That the breath, the heartbeat, and slowing the heartbeat down. We always have thoughts in our head, a lot of which we don't choose those thoughts in our head. So being able to just be and understand that these thoughts are going to come and they're going to go, and we can observe them as they pass. It kind of created a sense of a detachment from the thoughts. So detach yourself from your thoughts, you tend to not get too emotionally attached to the thoughts. So let's just say I have a thought of negativity or a doubt that is coming through my mind. Rather than attach myself to that thought and understand that just because I thought it doesn't mean that it's true and doesn't mean that it's for me. My thought to own, but it's just a thought that is coming to my mind. It kind of helped me to just, like I said, detach from the emotion that certain thoughts can bring. And looking things up a little bit, it's somewhat of a stoicism, I believe it's called, a stoic mindset of not getting attached to circumstances or emotions and trying to let them unfold, because certain things may appear bad on the surface. Given enough time to unfold, it could turn out to be a really great thing. A story comes to mind. It's called, I believe it's called The Buddhist Farmer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it goes like this.
I am. Yeah, go ahead and tell it though. I think it's a phenomenal story. I think any conversation, I think where it comes up to be told, it probably should be. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, a farmer was out in the fields one day and his horses escaped. He had, I think, two or three horses. They escaped, and his neighbor came by and saw what happened and was like, "Oh man, that sucks really bad." And the farmer's just like, "Maybe." So a day or two later, one of his horse comes back, and it brings another horse. So he got an extra horse, and the neighbor looks at he's like, "Oh, you got a new horse? That's awesome." And the farmer says, "Maybe." So then the next day, his son is riding the wild horse that came with his old horse, and he falls off and breaks his arm. And the neighbor's like, "Oh man, your son broke his arm. That's terrible." The farmer goes, "Maybe." So then the very next day, an army
And he
recruiter
broke his
comes to the
arm on that
house.
new horse, right?
Yeah, right. He breaks his arm. So then that's when the neighbor's like, "Oh man, he broke his arm. That sucks." And he's like, "Maybe." So the next day, an army recruiter or someone of that caliber comes by and is looking to recruit his son to the army, but he's got a broken arm, so he can't go to the army. Neighbor looks upon that and is like, "Oh my God, that's awesome. He doesn't have to go to war." And a farmer's like, "Well, maybe." So
Yeah,
and
and I would
then
say not a recruiter, just for the sake of the story, people listening. I would say someone like a draft person, someone who would make you if you were physically able.
and not a recruiter, someone who's actually coming to take you away for the war. But yeah, that's it's just the story of maybe, because certain things seem like they're really good on the surface or seem like they're really bad on the surface, but once the process unfolds, it could be totally different than what you expected.
Yeah, I
Or
totally agree with that point. Um, there was a lot that was, I think, really positive in there, and what you said, especially that story of the Buddhist farmer, or one time I think I saw a title just "Good luck, bad luck," I don't know, or maybe, or what, who knows. But yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
powerful story. I've seen it repeated a lot. But yeah, going back to touch on one of the other things you said, for the listeners, right? For people who don't know how to get into meditation, I think guided meditation is great. I personally I don't use guided meditations. It's just not my jam. Um, but when I got into meditation, it was absolutely one of the ways that I kind of just dipped into it or got a structure for it or got an idea of like what am I supposed to be doing during this time? What am I supposed to be thinking? What could I be thinking? What are people getting out of this? Um, I'm assuming you're using free guided meditations. I don't know why I'm assuming that. Um, or yeah, I don't know. I guess it's the yeah, who knows? Who knows why I assume that? But are you using free ones? Are you paying for them? Would you recommend any to the listeners?
Been using free ones, and then that was like you said, that was my introduction.
Oh,
The guided
that's why I
meditations
assumed that.
were a big introduction
Okay.
to the meditation world for me. But I have kind of grown away from that a little bit, and I do them occasionally, but it is a great way, like you said, to just get the introduction and get to know like what do I do when I'm meditating, like what is the process, and for me it really has been
Wait, and real
that
quick, I know you said there's no specific ones, but anyone, if you're listening, it's as simple as going to Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube or the fucking internet, whatever the fuck you have that's connected, and just typing in guided meditations. You'll definitely find free ones. You know, people sell them. Maybe one day you'll find someone you love and you'll think it's worth it to pay for those. That's fine too. Whatever floats your boat, kind of thing. But they're out there, and check it out. Go ahead, though.
Sealy is a great one. He's the one that I came to first. Another person is Jason Stevenson, as well as Kelly Howell. Those are three I would highly recommend.
Who was that first
If
one you said?
Sealey,
Sorry, it's like you cut out every like when you go to kind of begin to talk, I don't know what the reason is, you kind of cut out for a second. So you're saying that first, so you cut out like every time you said it. I don't know, say like something irrelevant before that and then say it. Sorry, one more time. What is that name?
electronics can be finicky from time to time, but Michael Sealey, Sealey is his last name, and he's got a number of different types of meditations. And one thing I would recommend if you are going through YouTube or Spotify or any of those is just type in like a keyword. So if you're looking to do a meditation before sleep, maybe guided sleep meditation. If you're looking to do a meditation to kind of wake up in the morning and get yourself a boost, maybe it's a guided morning meditation. You can kind of add a keyword in there to just narrow down the field at which you're trying to go down, and then the path you're trying to go down. So I think that's a good way to go about it.
Now, I want to touch back again. It seems like that one moment where you saw, the volleyball and people enjoying themselves, you asked the question, you had that epiphany. That's kind of what changed your life at 27 to get you on this positive path. Um, I would imagine there's probably more, right? So after that, like, what was the path a little bit? Like, you seem to have a lot of information. Was it just Googling it? Was it going to like retreats? What was it?
Say a lot of what I learned for myself was with Google and YouTube. It really was. It was something that I knew that I could come down and learn as much as I could. So um, path of just learning YouTube and Google, and then adapting to what I kind of learned through my own path when it came to working out and eating better and playing basketball and then doing the things that I really love to do. And those are things that I wasn't doing prior.
Awesome. Now, question I have, I bet other people have it. What are you doing now? Like, I guess financially or career wise, like, you know, how have these lessons played out in terms of a profession or, whatever it is to that extent?
to end this abruptly. I apologize, but I would like to potentially further this conversation at another time if you could. Apologize.
Yeah, absolutely. I told you at the beginning, if you want to make it short in the middle or for any reason, that's totally fine. Do you have like a minute to kind of go out on that last question, or you want me to literally cut it right now and you're good?
What was that last question?
Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, what was that last question? I apologize.
Shit, you know what? I don't even know. Um, my mind got wiped for a second when we switched topics. Just something that happens to me, and I'm sure plenty of other people sometimes. So don't feel bad.
Yeah,
Uh, you want to just cut it?
that would be amazing. I really apologize. Kind of a little family emergency.
All right. So, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Greg, Three Heads, for coming on the show and talking a little bit about what gets you passionate. It was a shorter episode, which is totally fine. Totally got to understand family. And, I think that's a priority too, is family. And that is part of what makes people passionate and happy. So please don't judge, Greg for, whatever. If you got to run, he does. Uh, and in your own life, don't judge yourself if some shit like this happens. Believe that other people will understand. Last message here. I don't mean to hold Greg. You are loved. If you haven't heard it today, there's love in the universe. The universe is abundant. However, it seems there is love. Everything is made out of information and energy and love. And you are loved today. A message from Afakasi brand. Look him up on Twitter. He's a really cool dude. And that's it. This is the Talking About Life podcast. Peace out, y'all.